Good day and welcome to this special broadcast on the topic of liquidity on the Botswana Stock Exchange. My name is Tania Habimana, and for the next 30 minutes, we're going to be with you. Encouraging, formulating and implementing a comprehensive stock exchange is the aim of the game to get companies to list. Now, listing enables capital fundraising. Increasing liquidity and enhancing trading in various securities, the financial instruments help strengthen listed companies during economic hardships. So let's delve into this and learn about the experiences of the 3 listed companies on the Botswana Stock Exchange.
And the panelists are Joanne Machive, General Manager of Lucara Botswana Limited, Kamogela Mawaneng, Chief Executive Officer of Liquidity Limited, Kurakwasha Makushi, Group Chief Financial Officer and Board Member of Botswana Insurance Holdings Limited.
And here we are. Let's start off this conversation. I'd like to address my first question to you, Kudukwashe. I mean, you're operating within the financial services sector. I'd like to understand a little bit more about the history of your company and also just exactly how the Botswana Stock Exchange has contributed to the success of the company.
It was listed on the Botswana Stock Exchange in 1991 and has been listed since. In terms of the composition of the group, we are in the insurance space mainly. We own the largest life insurance company in Botswana, called Botswana Life Insurance, the largest asset management company in Botswana, called Botswana Insurance Fund Management. We also are invested in associate companies, let's say Holdings Limited, as the second largest shareholder in that company. They are in the micro lending space, as well as Botswana Insurance Company, which is the largest short-term company in Botswana. We also have a 37% interest in Funeral Services Group, the largest undertaking business in Botswana. We are also have a presence in Malawi, where we invested in the Nico Holdings Group, which is a listed group in Malawi, also in insurance, but do also have a bank. In addition to that, we're in Zambia, where we invested in the largest asset management group. Through our subsidiaries and our associates, we are in 16 countries in total in Africa. Really, being on the Botswana Stock Exchange is a big advantage for us. We believe that the governance that comes with that, we believe that the scrutiny that comes with that, and we believe that the shareholder demand in terms of value addition and value growth keeps us honest as management, and we are able to run the business professionally and grow it well. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Now let's move over to mining with you, Joe. I'd like to understand a little bit more about Lucara. What have been your key milestones to date, and just exactly how has the Botswana Stock Exchange contributed to your success?
Yeah, Lucara, when one takes a look at where we're coming from, I mean, we started production in 2012, where we ran a mine in the Takane called Karua Diamond Mine, of course, under the auspices of Lucara Botswana, parent company Lucara Diamond Corp. So when one actually looks at, major milestones that one could say we have had, and we have been able to rewrite the history of diamond mining with the recoveries of big diamonds that we have become to be known about. We are the only operation in existence to have recovered 3 diamonds worth over 1,000 karatas. Having started about a decade ago, it's a very big milestone for us, and also we have been able to achieve this because of the technology that we have invested in our operation, which I believe I'll come talk about it. But this is technology that has been groundbreaking. We have been trailblazers in the technology, and hence we have been able to exploit the resource and get these recoveries. We have also rewritten the sales platform. If you know how diamonds have been sold conventionally, it was through the batch system. We came out with a program called Clara, which is a digital sales platform that takes the rough diamond and matches it to a polish. In that way, then we get more value out of what the manufacturers are willing to pay for our rough diamonds. So for us as a miner, operating in both the rough and the polish is something that is a big milestone that a few mining companies are involved in this space. And for us to have come online like a decade ago and already being able to achieve such milestones is quite commendable. And yes, now when one also takes into account that we listed in the Botswana Stock Exchange, we have been since 2011, and not only in the BSE, we've also we are also in the Toronto Stock Exchange and also in the Nasdaq, a Swedish stock exchange. So all these tend to give value to our shareholders. All the corporate governance that seems that comes with us being in these stock exchanges, of course, is giving value, and also is making us to at any point in time be able to look for best practice across the whole value chain. Because we always want to be at the top quadrant from a performance point of view.
Yeah, indeed. And that is the name of the game, isn't it? Bringing shareholder value. But also, as you speak to innovation within mining, but innovation is really spanning across various sectors. And I'd like to ask you, Kamogela, about how you're driving the growth of the company. What is your strategy there, and what has been the role of innovation and technology so far?
Thank you very much, Tania, for that. So with NLR, we actually recently launched our strategy, which we call the Go to Africa strategy. So part of the strategy, we really seek to optimize and expand our Botswana portfolio, as well as grow internationally, grow outside of the borders of Botswana. And through technology and innovation, we now have access to these markets where otherwise we would just be in the country that we operate in. So that's really helped in terms of expanding the operations of the company. We recently redefined our strategy, which is the Go to Africa strategy. And as part of the Go to Africa strategy, we're looking at optimizing and expanding our Botswana portfolio, as well as growing into Africa. So what we've seen is that the role of technology has played quite a big part in our ability to expand, and that it has given us access to markets that we otherwise wouldn't have access to. Even in terms of the acquisition pipelines that we're looking at, we're being more innovative in terms of, structuring various transactions, even in terms of how we enter into strategic partnerships with in-country experienced property investors and developers. So that's really where we are in terms of the growth of LNR. We are a real estate company, so we are looking at real estate investment opportunities.
Mm-hmm. And I want to get back to you actually about your expansion plans, and particularly talk about your plans for the rest of Africa. But before we get to that, I want to turn my attention back to you, Joe. When it comes to innovation within the mining sector, what have been some of the major developments that you've seen there?
One tends to look at conventionally where mining used to be, and looking at where we are now. Mm-hmm. It starts with the processing. I mentioned that as Lucara, the kind of technology that we have been able to install in our operations has been responsible for us to recover these big diamonds unbroken. Which is quite key. When we recover them unbroken, it demonstrates that indeed the technology that we have is preserving and adding value to the resource that we mine. And, you know, we've also seen as well now being able to, you know, run the mine more on a digital platform, you know, where there is online kind of reporting that we're getting. We are also even able to do predictive maintenance online. You know, in that way, in mining, then the resultant is that you are then able to improve on efficiency and productivity. Mm-hmm. We've also seen innovation and technology coming into the safety space. You know, where in the past, for one to go at the mine at areas that are so unsafe, you are now able to send some gadgets. You are now able to send some robots to go there and do inspections that would otherwise have put people in the line of fire. You know, even the reporting and matrices. You know, where we are then able to look at the behaviors of people. You know, we're using the digital and online platform. So all this technology that has come on board, it on maintenance for us to have predictive maintenance, on safety for us to use robotics and automation, and online reporting where we are then able to use digital boards, short interval control and nerve centers, have made efficiency improvements and productivity improvements in how business is run in mining nowadays.
So that brings a lot of value not only to your shareholders, but also an increasing financial performance for the business. And speaking of financial performance, I'd like to direct my next question to you, Kudakwashe. Looking back over the last year, I mean, you have been listed for a while. How would you characterize your financial performance?
So, Tanya, our financial performance for the last year was a very strong performance. In 2021, we saw quite an increase in claims related to COVID-19. And as a result of that, we paid out in excess of 2.4 billion pula in claims. Just to put that into perspective, that's about $240 million US thereabouts in claims. Despite that, we saw our profits coming through positively, that buoyed by the diversified financial services group that we are. The associates being Letseho Holdings, Nico Holdings, as well as FSG, performed very well in the last year. And that resulted in a situation where at the end of the year, we actually did declare a dividend, though from a life company perspective, the profits were lower than the previous year. I think I'll jump quickly into the first half of this year. We've seen our operating profits jumping up 67% year on year, and our profits from core operations growing 69% year on year. One of the key measures that we measure ourselves against is called the return on group equity value. Over the past 3-4 years, that has ranged between 9.5% up to about 13.5%, which in the kind of environment that we operate in Botswana for a large diversified financial services group is a very decent return, Tanya.
And would you say that the position that you're in, being listed on the Botswana Stock Exchange, enables you to look to the rest of the continent for expansion?
Definitely, Tanya. What we've realized as a Botswana company is when you get out of Botswana, you go into Southern Africa, you go into Africa generally, Botswana is looked at as one of the flagship countries in the way it runs its economy, in governance issues. And as a result of that, when you go out there and you're carrying maybe a reputed organization and a reputed group with a track record of being listed on the stock exchange, which has a track record of good governance, you're well received in a lot of the countries. In fact, management from Botswana Insurance Holdings sits on the various boards of some of the investee company where we are invested, and the advice that we give and the technical input that comes out of Botswana is well received in those markets. So I would say coming out of Botswana, being listed in Botswana, actually does play a very large positive role in being received and in trying to expand into Africa. Thank you.
And that's such an important point that you raised there, the reputation of the stock exchange within which you're listed, and the fact that Botswana does have the reputation of operating with good governance. And that's why I'd like to get a little bit more insights from you, Kamohelo. In terms of your Go to Africa strategy, what have you experienced so far? I know that you've had a first transaction in Kenya not too long ago. Perhaps you can share the details with us.
Yes, thank you, Tanya. So I'm proud to share with you that we actually executed our first Go to Africa transaction. Mid-July, we acquired a 30% stake in Orbit Africa Logistics. This is a Mauritian holding company which owns 100% of a company, a real estate investment company in Nairobi, Kenya. So we've invested in quite a good asset. It's a prime industrial asset which is tenanted by one of the well-established manufacturers, household manufacturers in Nairobi, Kenya, Orbit Products Africa Limited. So the good part about this particular transaction is that it's a solid tenant with a long lease of about 25 years, which really improves the fundamentals of our portfolio, where usually our average annual lease expiry profile would be around 3 to 5 or even 10 years at the most. We've been able to secure a lease of about 25 years. So that shows that there is a lot of stability. They are offering rental, which will be paid in US dollars. So again, we're diversifying in terms of our currency of income, where historically it's just been Pula, now we're earning the hard currency income. So that's really boosting our portfolio a lot. So we look forward to more of those type of transactions going forward. And to reiterate what Kuda said, part of the things that we look for as well when we enter into the rest of Africa is something similar to Botswana. We're looking for a country that has good governance above all else, secure land tenure, that has political stability, where we're able to repatriate our funds, because ultimately we are a Botswana company. And, our name in direct translation is Little Larna, means our basket of wealth. So the intention is to remain a basket of wealth for Botswana. So even in terms of our investing into Africa, ultimately we are looking to enhance our shareholder returns back home.
And that's such an important point as well, the fact that as you expand into the rest of the continent, you're also looking for countries that have good governance, that are behaving in a responsible manner. And that really speaks to ESG and sustainability now, does it? And when we think ESG, sustainability, I actually want to direct this question to Joe, because a lot of the discussion around sustainability, ESG, is within the mining sector, and this move towards, operating in a more sustainable way. So how do you see this at your company?
Yeah, you see, ESG has become so topical and rightly so in a lot of agendas in the mining space. And with us here at Lucara, we also take that very seriously. And this is why we are also looking at standards that will guide us in terms of best practice with regards to ESG. And one in particular is one that is called Towards Sustainable Mining, where it then, makes us to be, good stewards with regards to communities and the environment that we operate in. And it is because of that we have seen our program on sustainable development also guided by the 2030 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which we have adopted 10 out of the 17. The government of Botswana is also signatory to that, and so is the Canadian government. So when we look at these programs and the goals, they are meant to make communities more resilient beyond the life of mine. We need to ensure that we leave a legacy in these communities that is sustainable. And the programs that we do are aligned to that kind of objective. it's also is guiding us in that how then do we come up with solutions for the challenges in the communities. They should not be imposed by us being the operators. The solutions to challenges in the communities are solutions that must be agreed. There must be a mutual agreement between what the communities see as solutions to their challenges. So it is this kind of best practice, like towards sustainable mining, which is guiding us when we approach our communities. The projects that we have come about, I'll give you an example. When we came up with a project to do an integrated farm, about 100 kilometers away from the mine, where the farm, is doing fresh produce in terms of horticulture. We identified a need in that community where a lot of kids were suffering from malnutrition. So there was a need. Then we say, how can we then close this gap? Working with the community. Then we came up with the integrated farm, where now the communities are able to produce fresh produce for themselves. We have now seen a reduction in that community of malnutrition of up to 15%. So it's something which is tangible, and is also creating and leaving the right kind of legacy in the community. So even without the mine, we're going to run the mine at the moment. We are looking at 2041. Even after 2041, that farm will still be there and producing for the communities, creating employment for the communities, and eliminating malnutrition in those communities. So it is this kind of programs that we come up with to ensure that indeed we make communities more resilient in partnership with communities, not us operators imposing our solutions on them.
And that's such a brilliant example, as you said, of a company actively looking to leave a legacy beyond ESG, actually. And that's where I'd like to direct my next question to you, Kuda, in terms of the role that the Botswana Insurance Holdings Limited company plays for growing the Botswana economy. How do you see that?
In terms of the role that we play in terms of growing the Botswana economy, insurance plays a very big role in the economy. So you have mines like Joe's mine there. You have Kamu and the buildings. You have just your normal household. They all need protection from risk. They are taking a risk as they run their businesses. Joe will need protection against anything wrong that goes on at the mine, maybe be it employee lives. Kamu would need protection in terms of building insurance, car insurance, and at a very critical time when a loss has occurred, Tania, the insurance side of things kicks in and tries to restore a business to a level where it can pick up its production, pick up its building, be able to redo it, and then be able to continue with the economic activity that they've been doing. In addition to that, our group also handles investments, Tania. I talked earlier about BFM being the largest asset management company in Botswana. We handle as a group currently in excess of 37 billion pula. That's about just over $3.3 billion US in investments. And what we do is we put this money on the stock markets, we put this money on the bond markets, on international markets, and it's carefully managed and carefully invested to give the owners of that money a good return, to give the owners of those assets compensation when they need compensation for the risk that they would have taken. And Tania, we believe that the role that we play and at such a magnitude is a huge role in the economy of Botswana. I gave an example earlier of how we paid 2.4 billion pula back to Botswana or back into the economy. Relating to losses, a lot of them related to COVID-19, a very difficult time, and even for governments, a difficult time in terms of handling the economy and coming up with subsidies for businesses. And at such a time for a business to be able to inject back such liquidity into an economy is a major role and a major function for an economy to function well. Thank you, Tania.
That's quite a number. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So we'll now take some closing thoughts, and I'd like to actually bring this to you, Kamogelo. Looking at where the company is now within the Botswana Stock Exchange markets, what are you most excited about?
So Tanya, I'm really excited about the growth that we're embarking on. We've really done well in terms of the acquisitions that we've done locally. And, you know, we are the largest industrial asset owner in Botswana. So being one of the largest industrial owners in Botswana, we really house a lot of car manufacturers, diamond cutting and sorting companies to your distribution centers. So in terms of the role that we've played in Botswana, we have quite facilitated a lot of employment creation through our tenants. Our tenants currently employ about 8,000 people, which is quite significant in the context of Botswana, with one single tenant employing 3,200. So not only through our assets are we able to create this, but also as we expand, we're able to also assist other countries in the same employment creation. And being listed on the stock exchange, we've helped in, you know, the development of capital markets, and also the way that we stand to benefit in terms of our growth strategy into Africa through being listed on the Botswana Stock Exchange is that we are able to access funding through our shareholders who have supported our growth. So this is quite an exciting period for us, Tanya, as we look for investment opportunities outside of Botswana.
Brilliant. And that brings us to the end of this special broadcast. I'd like to give a big thank you to my panelists for joining us today, and also a big thank you to you, our audience. Thank you, and it's goodbye for now.